What's up, guys? Today I want to bring to you a great book of personal development called Atomic Habits. It's a book written by James Clear, and I read it right at the beginning of this year. I want to give you a quick summary about what the book's about and what has provided to me. Let's get it. So the entire book is broken down in 4 different sections. Each section that I'll go over it in a minute will give you a general idea of what we're trying to aim in, what spectrum of our lives we're trying to better ourselves. James Clear also puts very clear what are the 4 types of features that compose a habit. Habit, of course, is composed of cue, craving, response, and reward. What does this mean? For example, just the way I understood it is everything starts with a trigger. Everything starts with a feeling. For example, we find ourselves just walking around and we see a delicious pastry. Immediately, our brain gets a cue. Pastry equals tasty. Tasty equals good for our taste buds. However, internally, we don't realize that this actually gives us the craving that we desire. Now, after a cue has settled in, comes our craving. Craving is the emotional part that our brains tell us that we are missing out on this treat, for example. If we go back to the example of the pastry, our brain will be telling us that we are missing something for some reason. The easiest way for us to satisfy it is to take action. The action now, it's called the response. After this entire process takes place, our response kicks in and we are now ready to take action and buy this pastry. After we've bought it, we eat it and finally comes and sits in the reward. After we have it in our mouth, the pastry comes down our throat and we feel like, oh my god, this is amazing. It was totally worth it to have it. However, there's sometimes something else that I find that is not mentioned in the book, and it's like a 5th one. And this is for people like me, for example, that after they indulged in something negative that doesn't puts them in their path towards their goals and objectives, it's like a negative reward after reward, if that makes sense. Go back to the example of the pastry. Let's say we have that pastry, however, I feel like, wait a minute, I was supposed to not be eating this because I'm on a diet. Why am I doing this now? You stop to reflect on yourself, and this is the most important part of the entire processing system. It's you stopping for a minute and hopefully before the reward though, hopefully before you eat it, but you stop for a minute and you think about, hey, maybe I shouldn't be doing this, I should be doing that instead. The next most important thing I can highlight from the book is trying to understand what type of person you are and trying to shape your habits and your daily decisions accordingly to it. What I mean by this is we take decisions based on our ideas and suggestions of what we think we are. People that take decisions of every day going to the gym, they see themselves as athletes instead of people that indulge constantly in Netflix or junk food. For instance, one phrase I really enjoyed about this book states it's hard to change your habits if you never change the underlying beliefs that led you to your past behaviors. What you believe about yourself is actually the most important thing in order for you to take the right decisions and create good habits. Thankfully, there's a very easy 2-step process in order for you to start changing your habits and starting to see yourself as this type of person that you are. You just have to ask yourself 2 things. The first thing is decide the type of person you want to be, and after that, prove to yourself with small wins. Prove it to yourself with small wins. I'll say that again. Decide the type of person you want to be and prove it to yourself with small wins. You don't have to think about the end goal. You don't have to think about, yes, it's good to have a general idea of where you're aiming, but in reality, the only way you can get from your current position to where you want to be in life is towards taking the right decisions every day and not thinking about overthinking everything that you should be doing all at once. After we have established the type of person that we are, it's now the time for us to start building our good habits. And the first way we should do this is by making ourselves aware. The first law of breaking bad habits and making good ones is called make it obvious. And he put it very simple. Basically, you want to have more good days than bad ones. What do I mean by that? You want to make sure your habits are oriented, like the positive habits are oriented to have good days. This, for example, a day that I do more habits than bad ones is a good day, right? So you build it yourself. So the good days, you have these days, you do your good habits, you build one good day. Now, if you have a bad day, which means the day that you did your bad habits more than your good habits, you don't want to have this too much. Ideally, you want to have this more than that. Great part of this portion of the book is that he makes the author, James Clear, makes us understand that we don't need to be motivated. We just need to be disciplined, which is something I've talked about in the past. We don't need to be motivated in order for us to take the good actions. We just need to have like a right mindset and understand that we are this kind of person that does these things. Given that motivation is overrated, we will focus instead on shaping our environment. By shaping our environment simply means we move things around accordingly to our habits. For example, if I want to get in the habit of working out early in the morning, I want to put my gym bag and my gym shoes, everything in a place evident for me to take the action as easily as possible. You want to create the least possible amount of resistance in order for you to make the habit as easy as possible for you. The same goes for negative habits. For example, every time that you find yourself that you want to do something negative, you want to make it as hard as possible for you to do it. You want to make that walk towards the Burger King as far as possible as you can. With this in mind, we can jump to section number 2, which we want to make things as attractive as possible for us. Just as I mentioned, the easier it is for you to make the right decision, the more likely it is that you're gonna do it. This section of the book, the author goes more in depth of you should be looking for someone to help you. For example, if you are very rigid with your habits and you don't find yourself so easy or you don't trust yourself enough in order for you to change them, you should get something like an accountability partner. It can be something like your family members, any family member really close friend of yours, someone that can help you in this regard to make sure you don't indulge in your negative habits and you do more positive habits than you used to do in the past. Given that now you're gonna have somebody else that is gonna hold you accountable for these habits that you're gonna be making, it's more likely that you're gonna start doing the right things now. The third section of the book is all about mastering frequency and creating the habit of showing up. James Clear states that it doesn't matter if you don't complete the entire part of a habit. It's more important for you to build this identity that we've been talking about and master this showing up habit. He gives a really interesting example of a guy that just lost 100 pounds in a couple months, and he just went to work out 5 minutes a day, not more than that. And he showed up every single day for 5 minutes. And he said like, it doesn't really matter that he wasn't really doing much. I mean, it's like a little inconclusive. It's a little like irrelevant that he didn't work out. What the most important part is that he was showing up. And that's what he emphasizes here. Just creating the habit of you taking the action and you constantly making the difficult thing will give you that motivation to keep doing it over and over again. It's like little wins every day and they start stacking up every day. The final section of the book talks about all our habits. We should try to make them as satisfying or as uncomfortable as we can. It states that our brain pleasure is remembered and it's dearly appreciated by our brain. However, when we indulge in this pleasure and we sacrifice our present with decisions that are negative, we're sacrificing our present for our future. We're sacrificing a more pleasant present for a more difficult future. There is a couple of really good quotes at the end of this chapter that I want to share with you. The first is, the cost of your good habits is the present moment, whilst the cost of your bad habits is your future. The next thing that really touched me is like, the more immediate pleasure you get from an action, the more strongly you should question if it aligns with your long-term goals. This overall idea of us trying to get quick hits of dopamine in our brains has created a big problem in our society. We don't see it, or we may not realize it every day, but we are addicted to so many things. We're addicted to quick hits of dopamine on social media, quick hits of dopamine online, on food, on so many things, man. And I want to share this message to invite you guys to break out of it. And that would be everything. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me down below or on my contact on my personal profile. Please, if there's any feedback, I would really appreciate it if you guys can share it with me as well. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one.